5, 3, 1. It's DTV time! And I'm your host, Richard Blade, on SiriusXM First Wave and formerly from the world-famous K-Rock, welcoming you to 80s Life, because today they're going to be talking about a movie that's just turned 40 years old, starring Sarah Jessica Parker, Helen Hunt, Shannon Doherty, and me. So come along with my buddy Kurt Crucial as he goes and tries to find the locations for Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Let's go see what we can find.
Live from Chicago, America's #1 dance show, Dance TV, is on the air.
So the first thing we see after that opening montage with all of the landmarks in Chicago is Holy Grace High School, Janie and Lynn's high school. And in real life, that was this building right here behind me, John Marshall High. And we've been here so many times because there are numerous movies filmed at John Marshall High School. And we see John Marshall High multiple times throughout this movie. So we'll be coming back here in just a little bit. So Janie and Lynn get off the school bus and they're running to the house where Lynn is babysitting so they can watch Dance TV. And they're coming around the corner right here, passing by this house. Unfortunately, the shot that you get in the movie is now blocked by these trees, but the house itself is still the same. Okay, so they come running around the corner, and this is the house that you see him run by, and then it's the house right next door where Helen Hunt is babysitting. You don't see very much of the house, you really just get a close-up of the front door. Well, you see them run up the driveway, and then you get a close-up of the front door. And once they get inside, they flip on DTV, and we see our buddy Richard Blade, who plays Gary Woods, the host of Dance TV. Right now I'm in the city of Highland Park, and I'm sitting in my car currently because it just started raining right when I pulled up to the location that I was going to. The weather has been very weird this week. It's been very hot and sunny, but there's a big storm coming, and so it got cloudy. Anyways, I'm in Highland Park because right here across the street is Jeff's house. Now we first get a shot of Jeff's house when he's in the backyard shooting hoops, and I'm gonna assume that basketball hoop is no longer there, but you can't really see the garage from the street. However, we do get a good shot of the front of Jeff's house later in the movie when he does the cartwheel in the front yard. So Natalie's mansion, you get a pretty good shot of it in the movie, but in real life, this is about as good as you're gonna get. It's that house right there on the other side of that gate, but it is in a gated community, so you can go to Google Earth and you can swing around and see the front of it, but in real life, this is about as much as you can see. Luckily, it's also a historical house, so there's some pictures you can find online and you can see nothing has changed. So that brings us to Janie's house, or apartment building, and that's this large brick building that you see right here. Now here's the funny thing about this location. I noticed that there were a few people online that were trying really hard to track this location down, and when I went to figure out where it was, I quickly recognized it, and I realized that I was here not that long ago. I had made a video about the Beastie Boys, and this is where the Dust Brothers lived. And if you're not familiar with the Dust Brothers, they made some beats on some of the early Beastie Boys records, and also MCA ended up living in this building as well. So I had been here filming this location, but at the time I didn't realize that it was the same building used in Girls Just Want to Have Fun. But anyways, this was Janie's apartment building, and we see this location a few times throughout the movie. The next day, we see Janie and Lynn walking out of school, and that was the front of John Marshall High, and they're supposed to be going to the DTV auditions, but Janie is telling Lynn that she's not going to be able to go, and Lynn is trying to convince her that she has to go, but Janie's telling her, "You don't know my dad, he won't let me do it," and Lynn says, "Well, I'm going to miss the bus, so I'm out of here." And Janie is standing right here, and she starts to whine because she really wants to go and she just doesn't know what to do. She sees Lynn getting on the bus, which was parked right here. And at the last minute, Janie decides, that's it, I'm going for it. So this park that I'm currently standing in, this is where they come for the auditions. But some stuff around this park has been changed, but we're gonna walk around right now and see how much we can match up. So this driveway right here, this is the driveway that they use to come into the park. And when they do, the camera was in the park shooting this way. So when they're pulling into the park, you can actually see the house across the street, which is this one right here. It's been remodeled a little bit and it's currently decorated for Halloween, but there's still some stuff on this house that you can match up. Like those windows on the right that are side by side, those can be seen in the movie. And then just to the left of those windows, there's that circular window, which I believe can be seen in the movie, but it's kind of blocked by a tree. And then just to the left of that circular window, there's those pillars that are side by side, and those also can be seen in the movie. So although it's been remodeled a little bit, you can tell that this is the same house. Okay, so that driveway that they turn into is right on the other side of this fence, and the path that they're driving on no longer exists because there's currently construction going on, and this building that they are currently constructing would be right where that path was. So they would have turned into the driveway, come down this path, and then parked somewhere roughly right in this area. And when they're standing over there talking, you can see the tennis courts over here. There's also a building that you can see in those scenes, and that building no longer exists, but if you go onto Google Maps, you can see that building used to be right over here. So this is where they were parked, and then the stage would have been right over here somewhere in this area, and the way that you can tell is because there's a crowd shot where you can see this baseball diamond. The camera then pans over to the left, and that would have put the stage roughly right about here. You can see the trees behind the stage. The crowd would have been right here in front of me. And the reason why I'm thinking the stage was here, besides the fact that you can see that backstop and the camera would have panned over here, but also if you look carefully in the movie, you can see a street behind the stage. It appears to be a cul-de-sac. You can see some cars parked there. You can see a dead end sign. And if we walk over here behind this backstop, kind of walk down this path, there's a little entrance that takes you out onto this cul-de-sac. Now the dead end sign is no longer there, but if you go onto Google Maps, you can see that dead end sign, and you can also see a white fence that used to be here. That is no longer here either, but you can see that in the movie. So I'm pretty positive, based on the backstop over here and the trees and that street over there, that would tell us right here, somewhere in this general area, this is where the stage was. Okay, so here we are in the heart of Hollywood, and this building right over here behind me across the street, this was the dance studio where Jeff and Janie rehearse, and it did used to be a dance academy, but it's now an art studio. I think it's actually been this art studio for a really long time, and so the inside does not look anything like it did when it was a dance studio. Those brick walls are gone. Some of the windows are still the same. Those might be the same rafters, but all those brick walls are gone. And like I said, it now just looks like an art gallery in there. But we are still able to match stuff up outside. Right here is where Jeff was leaning up against the wall, waiting for Janie. The outside has changed a bit. They've changed some of the windows and moved the door over, but you can still kind of match things up. When she sneaks out of school to go rehearse, she comes out of this door, which you can't really see anymore because they put a gate. They also got rid of the stairs that used to be right here to make this handicap accessible, and they extended the sidewalk. So it looks a bit different, but it was right on the other side of this gate where she comes out, walks down the stairs, and then walks across the grass. Right now we're at the Westfield Culver City, formerly the Fox Hills Mall, and this is where Janie and Lynn run into Maggie and Drew, and they end up making all of those flyers for Natalie's party. Right over here, inside of this mall. Come on, let's go see if we can find some of the spots. Now this store that's currently Pro Image Sports, this was the tuxedo shop where Drew is getting fitted for his tuxedo. And right across from it is that escalator that I was riding down, the same one that Janie and Lynn come down, and you can see it from inside the tuxedo shop. Now this isn't the right angle, I should be over to the left, but those mannequins were kind of in the way, and I just wanted to show that it's the right location. Now I wish I could have found the quick print that was located within the mall. I did try looking for it, but there just wasn't enough clues. Now I want to give a shout out to Lindsay at I'mNotAstalker.com because I believe it was her and her friends that first discovered that this was the right mall. So when the girls are passing out flyers for the party, that all takes place right here on Melrose Avenue in Hollywood. But the storefronts on Melrose have changed so many times over the years, it's almost impossible to tell where those shots were filmed. We can match up a couple of the shots. We know that the scene starts right here on this block because you can see the sign for 700 North Vista Street. So right here is where they start running, and they run down the sidewalk past maybe 4 or 5 different stores, and they end up right here in front of this store, which like I said, looks a lot different now. When they go to lift up the car, notice that crack in between the feet? Am I standing at the very same crack in the sidewalk? Maybe yes, maybe no. Now in typical cheesy 80s movie style, all of the punks show up and wreak havoc. Now this is not realistic. You can't even get punks to show up to a punk show, let alone a random birthday party, but it does make for a funny scene. So Janie and Lynn are at school, and I guess they're in gymnastics class, and that scene took place on the backside of John Marshall High, but if you come to the side of the school, you can see it was right over there in front of that building, and it looks like nothing has changed on that building. You can still match everything up. When Janie is doing her turn with the gymnastics, you can match it all up. The building that you see behind Lynn, when it's her turn, that is still there and still matches up. And in fact, this is really crazy. When the nun starts doing gymnastics, she's right in between those 2 basketball hoops. And this has got to be a coincidence, but if you look in the movie, the hoop on the right side doesn't have a net. And if you look right there, the hoop on the right side still does not have a net. I mean, there's no way that they haven't replaced that net in the last 40 years. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Budget cuts, right? Anyways, right over there, that's where they're doing the gymnastics. And then Jeff pulls up on his motorcycle, and you would think that he was out in the street, but he was actually on school property. He would have rode up right along here, And the front side of the school is the building that you see behind him. There was a fence going right along here that was separating the front of the school and the back of the school. This club right here behind me across the street is Catch One, but in the movie, this was the court. This is where Jeff takes Janie to practice dancing. And we've been down here a few times because this club was also used in Pretty in Pink and I'm Gonna Get You Sucka and probably a few other movies that I haven't even realized yet. Now the section of the building that we see in the movie is right down this alley, but the bad news is they've put up a wall because they turned that area into like a smoking section or an outdoor patio. You can see the staircase is still there. I'm gonna assume the door is still there as well, but like I said, you can just no longer get that same shot because they put up this wall. But that entire scene after he punches the guy and they run outside and they jump on his motorcycle, if you were ever watching that and you thought it looked familiar, that's because this is the exact same area from Pretty in Pink. When Jeff is giving Janie a ride home on his motorcycle, we see them riding through downtown Los Angeles, first passing by the jewelry exchange. The building is still there, still looks the same, just no longer says Jewelry Exchange. We then see them making a left turn right in front of these buildings. Luckily, these buildings haven't changed a bit since they filmed that scene. And if you look off in the distance, you can see something red, kind of hard to make out what it is, but it's a large red sculpture. And if you look way down there, you can see that red sculpture is still there. Now the date of course ends with Jeff dropping Janie off back at her place, and they park right in front of the lamppost that's no longer here. It was probably just put here for the movie, but right here is where they would have been parked, and the camera then swoops in to capture Jeff and Janie's relationship growing. Now we're back at the dance studio where Jeff and Janie rehearse, but where Jeff parks his motorcycle was actually across the street from the dance studio. He parked it in an alley that was right over here. You can see that alley is now gone. But this is the driveway that he comes out of. The driveway is still there, but you can see there's now a wall. That's where he comes out of the driveway. And then Natalie's dad comes down the street in the limo and almost hits him. Now again, this is the view of Jeff coming out of the alley. That's what you see across the street. And as Mr. Sands gets out of his limo, you can see his windows are painted black. And this is the portion of the dance studio you see behind him. And as his limo pulls away and he leaves Jeff sitting there very sad, this is what you see behind Jeff. Again, the dance studio has changed a bit, but that light is still the same. Meanwhile, back at Janie's place, her and Lynn are sneaking out, passing right by these windows. And when Janie hits the ground, you can see a tree and those two windows. There's the two windows. The tree is no longer here. And when Lynn is helping Janie, that's when the dog runs up and Lynn then reaches into her bag and gets the hairspray to take care of the dog. Now, notice behind them, you can see a window behind Janie, a smaller window behind Lynn, and then a drain pipe. There's the window that was behind Janie, the smaller window behind Lynn, and there's the drain pipe. And then right over here across from them, this is where the dog would have been tied up. Awesome. So the studio where they filmed Dance TV was supposedly right here, now the Thurman Lofts. Now I believe that this was just used for the lobby of the studio. The actual Dance TV studio, according to Richard Blade, was in some studio in Silver Lake. But whenever you see them running into the building, that was right here. However, it looks nothing like it did in the movie. It has been completely remodeled. And when they run in, you can see some of the businesses across the street. All of those also have been completely remodeled and look nothing like they did in the movie. The only thing here that looks remotely the same is it still has the elevators down the hall on the right side. Oh, and of course, the address, 600 Spring Street in downtown Los Angeles. And in the movie, you can see 600 on the building multiple times. Janie's parents are at home relaxing and watching DTV. Sounds about right. And that's when they see Janie on the television, and now her dad has got to put a stop to it. So when her dad is rushing to the TV studio, I believe that that was filmed in 2 different spots. When his car first comes to a stop, I believe that he's on Olive Street in front of the Biltmore Hotel. You can see these pillars behind his car. Then when the light turns green and he makes a left, we know that he's turning onto Hope Street from 3rd Street. And the way that we know that is, first of all, you can see the sign for 3rd Street. Also, the building on the corner, you can see that it says Security Pacific. Now, Security Pacific turned into Bank of America, and this building right here on the corner is the Bank of America Plaza. And luckily, the buildings here haven't changed too much, so you can still match stuff up. And the Biltmore Hotel, where I believe that scene starts, is just a couple of blocks from here. Now, you're never gonna believe this, but Janie and Jeff go on DTV and they're phenomenal. They end up winning the contest. Jeff's dad is so proud. Drew and Maggie are excited, and Janie's dad has a change of heart. Mr. Sands finally tells Natalie to shut up, and Lynn becomes the new Ricky. Richard Blade can't believe it. Everybody lives happily ever after. So there you have it, filming locations for Girls Just Want to Have Fun during its 40th anniversary. And I think we did pretty good. We found most of the locations. There was a few that I wanted to find that I wasn't able to track down, but it's just such a fun movie. I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker, Helen Hunt, Shannon Doherty, Richard Blade, awesome dance battles. You just don't get more 80s than that. All right. That's gonna do it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. What is this life?